Hello, and welcome to Half Air Plays. I'm Terrence, and this week we're doing something a little bit different. Instead of a video game, I am doing a video in conjunction with my solo role-playing blog, Tev's Next Idea. Now, if you're not familiar with solo role-playing, it is where you use tools and tables to be both the player and the GM of a standard pen and paper role-playing game. I take my games and I post them. They're part fictional story, part actual play, and part tutorial. If you're interested in what that looks like, go to my website. It's at tevsnextidea.blogspot.com. Okay, so this week, if you haven't figured it out, we're playing a game called Delve. Delve is a map-making game written by Anna Blackwell, and you can get this game on itch.io. I recently purchased the Aid for Ukraine bundle, and it was included in that with some of other of Anna's games. But if you didn't get that bundle and you don't already have it, it's not that expensive, and it's even cheaper if you bundle it with some of the other games that Anna has put out. Okay, so Delve is a map-making game. This means that as you play the game, you are drawing a map. You're drawing pictures, and you'll have this thing when you're all done to hold on to and to look back and think back upon your adventures. So what do these maps look like? Well, behind me you can see some samples. I imagine the author did these, but I've seen many others online. Some games are drawn by people who definitely have really good artistic skills. Others, like me, just doodle and do our best, and we draw the pictures that we can. Some people use stick figures, and if you can't draw at all, that's okay. I've even seen some examples where people just wrote in boxes what they're finding with no pictures whatsoever. In Delve, we will play a group of dwarves. No, not those dwarves. No, a group of dwarves that have built a hold or a keep. Now, what kind of a hold? Where is this hold? How big is it? What are we doing in there? We don't know. The game doesn't tell us much about it. There's just this hold on the surface. What we are interested in is everything below the hold. Our job is to dig down, discover what's underneath the hold, exterminate any monsters, find any relics or ruins. Ideally, we want to find something called the Void Crystal. Don't know what this is, but if you find it, you're going to be the wealthiest, richest, most famous dwarves in all of the land. So that Void Crystal is what we want. That's what we desire. Before we go any further, how I usually do my games on Tev's Next Idea is when I start a new game that's never been played before, which Delve is, I delve into the rules a little bit more and give a lot of explanation. So this first video, there's going to be a lot of explanation about how the game is played, how the mechanics works. Each move I do, I'll explain what I am doing, maybe why I am doing it, and then as the game progresses, as I load up more videos, that explanation will become less and less, and it'll be more gameplay, because I'll assume you know what's being done. But it's important for me to show you the game, to explain it to you in case it's something you might want to play in the future. Also, that you're not lost, just watching me doing, why did he do that? I don't know. Well, I'll explain that to you. So, usually when I play a role-playing game, the stories work best because I have individual characters, maybe a party of 3 or 4 characters, and I get personality and in-depth backgrounds and stories and dialogue. Well, Delve is not that game. Delve, we are just playing a group of dwarves, and they come and go very quickly. I mean, whole groups can be wiped out in a second. So there's not going to be that individual story, those narratives. Instead, we're telling the overall story about our hold and what we are seeing, and it's just a more broad, historical overlook, and it is very fun. So there's a few things that you need to play Delve. Besides the rules, you need something to draw on. Paper. Delve works on a grid of 1-inch squares, and right in the rules, you are provided with some graph paper that you can print out. If you don't want to do that, you can use standard graph paper, and ones with maybe thicker lines for the 1-inch. Personally, I downloaded some dot paper, so I have dots in a 1-inch grid. I like that because it leaves the paper less cluttered when I'm drawing. I don't have these big black lines between my different rooms. I just need the dots to kind of gauge it out. You can even use blank paper and just estimate how much an inch is. It works. It's just something for you to draw. Of course, you need something to draw with, but you'll also need a deck of standard playing cards with 2 jokers. And finally, you will need a 4-sided die. Now, if you don't have a die, that's okay. There are instructions in the rules on how you can use the cards to be the die. You need a 2-sided die? Well, you flip a card, black or red, 1 or 2. You need the 1 to 4. Well, you can use your spades, your hearts, your diamonds, your clubs, and assign a number 1 to 4 to each of those. That's in the rules. So the die is not important. I personally use a die because I have a die. But that's basically what you need. Paper, drawing utensils, cards, and a die. Okay, so we are ready to get started. Now, before we actually start taking our turns, there is some more setup to do. As you can see here, I know from playing in the past that the map can get kind of wide. According to the rules, when you hit the end of your paper, you can just add more paper. Same thing if as you go down, as you get deeper, you can just add more paper. I'm just starting off with 2 pieces taped together. And just for tracking purposes, across the top I have A, B, C, D on each column, and 1, 2, 3, 4 going down the side for each level. So the first thing you need to do is pick the entrance to your underground caverns. Somewhere in the middle of your paper, you draw a stairwell. This is my stairwell. It might look familiar. I chose to model it after the grand staircase on the Titanic. Little known fact, you've seen probably this picture of the staircase in the Titanic. There are no known actual photographs of the Titanic's grand staircase. Whenever you see this picture, it is actually from the Titanic's sister ship, the Olympia. It has nothing to do with Delve, but just a little bit of fun information I thought you might like. Oh, and there's one other thing that I forgot to mention that you need, and that is some way of, like a notebook or some way of taking notes so you can jot down things that are in your rooms, what's going on with your hold. This is a case where that one map I showed you earlier, where someone just wrote in the boxes what's going on, has been helpful for me. So what I did is I printed out a duplicate grid but of solid lines, and I am just going to use this to write in the boxes what is in each spot and any details that I need to know about it, which will make more sense as we go further along in this game. So here's my sheet with stairs written right there in slot J1. Next, you got to set up, I'll call it your bank, a listing of what you have to use to build and gather more troops. In this game, you have 2 things called resources, which are represented by the heart cards, and trade goods, which are represented by the diamond cards. Your resources, hearts, are mainly used for building rooms and traps, and your trade goods, your diamond cards, are mainly used to recruit more troops for your endeavors. And to start off the game, you are given 20 of each. 20 trade goods and 20 resources. At any one time at the starting stage, you can have 50 of each of these trade goods or resources. Now, this is not specifically stated in the rules, but some research online has shown that the author has officially stated that yes, 50 is your max. And that becomes important because there are certain rooms that you can build that increase your max of trade goods or resources. Next, the game gives you 5 soldiers at your entrance, so just mark that down on your page. You have 5 soldiers at your entrance. We remove the jokers from our deck of cards. They'll come in later. We don't need those right away. And we shuffle our cards. Now we're ready for our first turn. As in a lot of games, there are several steps that you go through on each turn. Okay, the first step you need to do is to decide which grid you are going to explore. You need to explore a grid that is joined to one of the previously explored grids. In this case, we only have the staircase, so I am going to choose K1. And to explore a grid, you just turn over a card. Now, the suits of each card represents what you find. For instance, if you turn over a heart, that is a resource. You found some resources underground. If you turn over a diamond, it's, yes, trade goods. You find some trade goods. The 2 suits that we haven't talked about yet are the clubs. Clubs are natural formations. They can be caves. They can be rivers. They can be some kind of dwelling creature that's there. Just something that's already down there. And the spades are remnants. Remnants are some kind of old ruin or something that's been built there, or a lair of some sort of something. Usually, spades can have detrimental consequences. So, in order to start building up some of your resources and trade goods, the rules of the game say if you draw a spade on the first level of your dungeon, you just ignore it and draw another card. This gives you a chance to kind of, build up some troops, some buildings, get some money before you start encountering those nasty consequences of a spade card. So let's flip over the first card, and I get King of Clubs. So clubs are natural formations. So we go to the table in the book, and we discover that it's a burrowing beast. We get to decide what that beast is. There is some random tables that are provided in the book if you want to roll, but I like to choose my own creature. And almost always when I get a burrowing beast, the first one I go with is a giant mole. The way that this game works with monsters or enemies is it gives them a base strength. In this case, the burrowing beast has a base strength of 20. Then you add 5 to that strength for every level underground you are. Since we're at level 1, that gives our burrowing beast a strength of 25. Typically in Delve, when you encounter a monster or a creature, it initiates combat. Combat basically means that these creatures will beeline to the fastest route they can to your entrance or exit from the caverns. And then whatever they encounter along the way, they have to battle. There is a little bit of a difference with a burrowing beast, because the first thing a burrowing beast does is it will start digging straight up. When it hits one of your other explored rooms, at that point, then it starts to head towards the entrance. If it hits all the way to the top, you're level 1, without hitting a room, then you randomly determine, does it go to the left, does it go to the right, and then it starts digging down until it hits a room that you have already explored. In this case, we're already at the top. It really can't go up, it can only go one way or the other. What do we do? This is a good time to introduce additional rule number 1. The rules do a pretty good job of giving you a lot of detail of what to do in every circumstance, what to do in a room, how a monster reacts, how to resolve combat, and so on. But like any role-playing game, almost any game for that matter, there are situations where they just don't meet the specific need that you have, or something that is unusual happens. Or, unfortunately, sometimes the author just doesn't write a rule very good, and it's very unclear. In that case, we go to additional rule number 1 of Delve, which is, if you can't find a rule for what you want to do, or you get stuck, just do what makes for the best story. So basically, if you don't know what to do in a case, the rules don't cover it, or I'll even say if the rules you don't like the way the rules are written, do something else. So in this case, what I'm just going to assume is, since I'm right near the entrance, this is the first place we went in, this giant mole beelines to our staircase. And what does he run into? He runs into our 5 soldiers. Now, this is how combat works when you actually meet up with an enemy. Each of your units has a different strength. In this case, we have soldiers, and soldiers, each unit has a strength of 5. We have 5 soldiers, so we have a total strength here of 25. That is good because you compare your unit strength to the monster strength, subtract, and if you have more strength than the monster is defeated. Unfortunately, any units, full units that you deplete the strength of, for instance, every 5 units of strength you use to defeat a monster, you have to get rid of 1 soldier that has 5 units. So in this case, it's a wash. We defeat the mole, but we also lost all 5 of our soldiers in the battle, 25 versus 25. So that's how combat works. On to step 2. After resolving combat, now, if you want, you can trade some of your resources and trade goods for each other. What that means is, if you wanted to recruit some more troops, but you don't have enough diamonds, well, you can trade some of your hearts for diamonds, or vice versa. If you want to build a room and you don't have enough hearts to build that room, you can trade some of your trade goods, your diamonds, for your hearts. They don't have an equal exchange rate. Basically, every 1 trade good you can exchange for 2 resources, or you can trade 2 resources for 1 trade good. So apparently, resources are much more valuable than trade goods. For this turn, I am going to choose not to do any trades. So instead of trading, we're going to move on to the next step, which is build new features in your hold. Now, these are basically building rooms or other structures. I am going to choose to build a barracks. Now, what a barracks is basically as it sounds. It's a place for you to have your soldiers live and sleep and house your soldiers. Each barrack can hold up to 10 soldiers or 10 gunners, and to build a barracks, you need to spend 8 resources or 8 hearts. So I'm going to spend those 8 hearts. I'm going to draw in my barracks. Okay, see, I got like several bunk beds, and those are pillows. Those aren't heads lying on the beds. But, so I got my barracks. I'm going to mark that down on my informational grid that I have. And then finally, I am going to buy some more troops. That's the last step, is you can recruit troops. So I'm going to recruit 2 soldiers and set them up at my staircase. Soldiers cost 5 diamonds each. And I am going to recruit 2 gunners at 5 diamonds each and stick them in my barracks. Now, a gunner is just like a soldier, but they have weapons that they can fire up to 2 grids away, which is good because it gives you some chance to wear down an enemy before they actually reach you. Now, gunners only have a strength of 3 instead of 5, so they're not as powerful, but they do get those couple of grid advantage to cause damage before they are wiped out themselves. And that is a basic turn. You explore a grid, you resolve combat, you do any trading that you want, you build any rooms that you want, and then you recruit any troops. And you just repeat that over and over again as you build out your dungeon. Okay, so the next square I'm going to explore is L1. So let's choose a card. 5 of hearts. Okay, now as I said, hearts and diamonds are resources and trade goods. So in this cavern, we found 5 hearts, but that's not all. You add a resource for each level you are in the dungeon. So in this case, we're on level 1. So that is 5 plus 1 gives us a total of 6 resources. Okay, I'm going to choose not to trade at this point. But I will use 5 of my resources, 5 hearts, to build a dorm in L1, the room that I just explored. Okay, so this is my dorm. I decided to fashion it off of a normal college dorm room. I got my bed on the left there, a desk in the back, that's a lamp, a table so my buds can come over and we can hang out, play some cards, you know. There's a rug and some pictures on the wall. Now, what is the advantage of having a dorm? Well, a dorm increases the housing capacity of the squares to the left, right, and below you by another 50%. So for example, we got the barracks to the left in K1 that currently hold 10 units. Now it can hold up to 15 units. How does one dorm room accomplish that? You know, I don't know. That's really not explained, and it's just a fantasy game, so we don't knock it. We just take the rules and go with them. Okay, at this point, I don't have enough left to actually do any recruiting, so that is the end of turn 2. Okay, for this next turn, let's go on the other side of the staircase, our entrance. Let's go to I1. Okay, Queen of Spades. As we previously mentioned, on level 1, any spades are ignored, so let's discard that and draw again. 7 of Clubs. Okay, clubs are natural formations. Sometimes they're good or relatively harmless, but other times, not so much. So let's see what this one is. Oh, it's a magma flow. Okay, so let's draw this magma flow. And as you can see, it does not contain itself just to I1. The rules of a magma flow are you continue the flow until you get to the closest edge of your paper. And additionally, magma is liquid, which means that it also can flow up to 2 spaces away from the source in either direction. And should you hit any stairwells or any path going down, it will flow down into those as well. In this case, we have no paths down, so it's just going to flow into our entryway and our barracks. And that is not good. First of all, destroys any units that are in there. So all our soldiers in our stairway, totally gone. Any soldiers we'd have in our barracks, totally gone. I don't think we had many because of our mole attack earlier, but still. And now those rooms are unusable until we clear out the lava. This is also bad for another reason, because as you can see, this whole half of the first level is a magma flow. That means we can't explore any of those rooms now, so we lose our opportunities to gather resources and trade goods. We can't build in any of these rooms. For the most part, there are some rules around that, but at this point, I just think this whole row is a wash, and we can't do anything with that. So, it also creates some other problems, like we now have lava in our entrance. Well, this is where we invoke that rule number 1. What do you do? In reality, you can't just walk through lava. So does that mean we're done? Does that mean we can't build anymore? Well, no. What we're going to do is I'm going to say that our dwarves are ingenious, they're smart, they can bring down planks of wood, like makeshift bridges, or maybe some boats and rafts to transport supplies across and dwarves across, but it will slow them down. So from here on out, until I clear out the lava in the stairwell, we will only get to build rooms every other turn. I think that's accounted for the fact we can't get resources and workers down as fast, or supplies out as fast. So we will be hampered to build rooms only every other turn. I'll also go far as to say one other thing, that monsters are dumb and they can't pass lava. So this effectively protects our entrance and our hold up above us from any monsters getting to them should they come up here before we ever clear the lava out. So with the lava taking care of everything to the left, the only option we have right now is M1. So let's explore M1. 4 of hearts. So that is 4 resources, plus of course our 1 extra for being on level 1. So a total of 5 resources. We now have 18 resources. Don't have enough to really build a room at this point, and I can't recruit anything. I'm not going to trade, so that was a quick turn. Let's continue to move left and explore N1. Jack of Diamonds. Now, diamonds are trade goods, and they follow the same rules as the resources as far as adding a good for each level. So a Jack is 11, so we have 11 plus 1, that's 12 additional trade goods. Okay, now on this turn, I am going to choose to make a trade. I am going to trade 16 of my resources for 8 diamonds. Remember, each resource, 2 resources makes 1 diamond, 1 trade good. So now I have a total left of 2 resources and 20 diamonds. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use my diamonds to clear the lava from the barracks. You can clear lava at a cost of 20 diamonds per room. Now, the room is still damaged. What does that mean? That means that I cannot recruit any troops into that room yet until I fix the damage. The damage costs half of the room's cost. In this case, it'll be 4 hearts. I don't have 4 hearts or 4 resources right now, so I'm not going to be able to repair it. What I can do, however, is build a staircase. Stairs cost nothing to build, and you can also build them in a square you haven't explored. So in this case, I will build my stairs in M2. And as I said, I don't have any ability to recruit at this time, so we'll end that turn. Now that we're on the 2nd level, let's start exploring this level, and we will go to N2. 2 of diamonds, so that's 2 trade goods, plus we're on level 2, so that's 2 more for a total of 4 trade goods, which means we have a total of 4 trade goods. I'm going to go ahead and trade 2 of my trade goods for 4 hearts. Remember, 1 trade good equals 2 hearts. So now I have a total of 4 hearts, which is enough to repair my barracks. So I'm going to go ahead and repair my barracks. Why is this important? Well, obviously now I can start recruiting some more troops. So should we come across any monsters that come up that way, we can certainly stop them. Right now, I don't have enough money to do any recruiting at this time, so that's where we'll stop. The next space I want to explore is O2. Continue moving to the left. Oh, we have a spades. Ace of spades. That's our first spade. That's a high spade. That can't be good. Spades are obviously left out of level 1 for a reason, so I'm not expecting this to be good. So let's see. What is the Ace of Spades? It's a monster village. Okay. We get to roll a d4 to see how many spaces it is. And that is 2 spaces wide. Now I can draw these in any 2 spaces, and this is what I'm going to choose to do. What village is this? I am going to just say Goblins. Goblins is a good monster to begin with. So we have a goblin village here. I got a little monster goblin high-rise apartments there, some huts, and apparently there was a ledge in this cavern, and they built some homes up there with a ladder going down. So this is my little goblin village. Okay, now, according to the rules, the village starts off with a strength of 20. And as we discussed before, the monsters get an additional 5 strength points for each level they are under the ground. So this is level 2. So that gives them a total of 30 strength. So now we're in combat. Monsters will take the shortest path they can to exit the dungeon. So in this case, that's going to be heading left through N2 to M2, up the stairs, through the dorm and into the barracks, and then if they could, they would exit through J1, the staircase. However, because of the rule that I put in before, they cannot pass that lava. So that means that they can't escape. So what happens when a monster cannot get out of the dungeon? This is what Delve calls a takeover. The goblins have taken over every square that I've explored. They can't get any further, so luckily the lava's there, keeping them from getting up the staircase. So technically we haven't lost yet. But they've killed all my troops. They've taken over any rooms that I've created, which means they can start spawning goblins in the barracks, for instance, that have the same strength and features as what I was housing there. In this case, last thing I was housing was gunners, so we'll have like maybe spear chucking goblins. Not sure what we're gonna do right now. It doesn't make sense that my dwarves can continue here. As we discussed, they have to get over the lava when they come down the stairs, so they're using boards or boats or something, but it's slow going, a small amount of time. The goblins would just, pick them off as they're coming down, so that doesn't make a lot of sense from a narrative standpoint. So we're gonna have to think of something else. I am not defeated yet. I'm sure we can do this, and I'll let you know what I figure out next time we come back. Something I do on Tev's Next Ideas, I like to end each post with a Bible verse. Usually that points to something that is pertinent in that particular chapter that I wrote. And I'm going to do the same here. Today I am looking at, since we're doing delve and art, I thought it was appropriate to pick a verse that shows God's hand in our art. And that verse this week is Exodus 31, 1 through 5. Check it out. So, for Terrence and Tev's Next Idea and Half Air Plays, saying thanks for watching and good night.